What's up, guys? Welcome back. Kellen here with Droid Life. So today we're taking a look at the Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL, which means it's that time of year for us ultra Android nerds to get really excited about. Whenever Google shows us their combination of software and hardware, it not only brings an added level of intrigue to the platform, but look, it also really just means we get to play with fast, clean Android for a while after spending months dealing with other people's Android skins. So did Google knock it out of the park with these two? Well, I think for the most part, they really did. These are two of my favorite phones of the entire year. So let's dive deeper into that. This is our Google Pixel 2 review. To recap, we got two phones, the Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL. The 2 is the small and the 2 XL is obviously the bigger guy. So that means different display and battery sizes as well as different price points. Other than that, the experience and rest of the specs are essentially the same, which means very similar performance, camera abilities, battery life, etc., no matter which phone you choose. In terms of specs, we've got Snapdragon 835 processors, 4GB RAM, 64, 128GB of storage, IP67 water and dust resistance, and 12.2 megapixel cameras that have already been very highly rated. When talking differences though, the Pixel 2 has a 5-inch 1080p AMOLED display and a 2700 mAh battery. The 2 XL has a 6-inch POLED Quad HD display and 3520 mAh battery. Neither phone has a headphone jack, wireless charging, or SD card slot, so just keep that in mind. As for pricing, the Pixel 2 costs $649 or $749 depending on storage, while the 2 XL jumps to $849 and $949. The phones are exclusively sold by Verizon in the US if you want to go through a carrier, but Google sells them fully unlocked through their own store as well. Both phones work on all major US carriers as well. They aren't locked to Verizon or anything weird like that. All right, so there's a lot of good stuff going on here. Now, despite all of the buzzy drama surrounding the display, I've got no real major complaints that would push me away from either of these phones. And yes, we will come back and talk about the display in depth in just a minute, but right now I want to talk about the stuff I really love about Google's new phones. You've got this two-tone backside that I have here in just black. There are also clearly white and kind of blue models for the Pixel 2, as well as a black and white Pixel 2 XL that shall officially be known as the Penguin. The designs are unique in that they aren't following the all-glass trend, yet do offer a nice texture combo between lower metal back and upper color-blocked glass panel. This carried over from last year's Pixel phones and is clearly one of those design highlights that Google wants to be known for. It's kind of cool, so I'm fine with it. Of course, the designs of these phones do have their differences. I'm not going to sit here and tell you which is bad or good, but you can probably tell that the smaller Pixel 2 is larger than 2017 is used to bezels, while the 2 XL sports a more modern, less bezel-heavy setup. Neither is bezel trimmed like the Galaxy S8 or even LG V30, though this 2 XL comes close enough. Google decided to go with stereo front-facing speakers on both phones, and I think that's why each has the amount of bezel they do. Again, I'll let you decide which setup you prefer, but I personally think that shrinking bezels are a good thing to a certain extent. Overall, the phones feel premium in hand. They carry good weight to them. This black offers a nice little texture, and they show very minimal, yet unique, which I appreciate. The cameras here, those being the single 12.2 megapixel shooters on the backsides of each phone are, well, they're awesome. Google knocked it out of the park in the camera department with last year's Pixel phones and has done so again this year. There may only be single shooters instead of dual camera setup that seems to be on trend at the moment, but these cameras are competing with the best in the industry and possibly outperforming all of them. I found myself wanting to take pictures with these phones, even going out of my way to take more because they really are that good. You can fire these shooters up super quickly with a double tap on that power button, autofocus instantly thanks to laser and dual pixel phase detect autofocus, and then capture a lifelike photo that's probably been perfectly processed with Google's HDR Plus magic. And it really is magic too. Google is winning the camera game in smartphones because of that software processing they are doing, and that starts with HDR Plus. It's such a powerful addition that they even include a separate and secretive Pixel visual core chip within each phone that will allow other camera apps to take advantage of those smarts. Of course, cameras and their speed and smarts are fun to talk about, but results matter. The results here won't disappoint. The Pixel 2 and 2 XL cameras recreate sharp, realistic photos in any lighting situation. They dominate in portrait mode with a really soft yet obvious bokeh effect, show impressive stabilization both in stills and video, and overall just seem to be so solid with every shot that you'll gain plenty of confidence as a photographer with either phone in your pocket. I'm telling you, you'll want to take more photos when these phones are in your pocket. Now, as I mentioned in the opening, one of the reasons we look forward to Google's phones each year is the software. So in the Pixel 2 lineup, you've got Android Oreo running with the latest Pixel experience. That means a clean version of Android, but one that Google is starting to customize a bit to include add-ons. It's very much like Motorola or OnePlus's approach to Android, both of which are approaches we have always been fans of. So you got this lean and mean and fast Android, but then you get double tap to wake the phone, always on display that's been improved, picture-in-picture modes, black and white themes that are sort of hidden, a nightlight mode, swiping on the fingerprint reader access notifications, notification dots and app shortcuts and their features, and this new Active Edge. Active Edge introduces us to a squeezable side that when performed launches Google Assistant. It can also silence calls, but for the most part it's there for Assistant. While that may seem limiting, it really does come in handy during those quieter times where you may not want to shout out, "Hey Google!" I found that I would rather squeeze it mostly than say the hot word anyway, because I know it'll work and do so quickly. But you also get access to the Pixel launcher and its revamped experience, and OS that lets you search within it and externally pretty easily, and a general polish we didn't previously associate with Google software in the past. Also, did I mention these phones are stupid fast? You can always tell when you have a Google-tuned phone in hand because it feels so much more fluid than anything you'll get from Samsung or say LG. And I don't care what benchmarks say, when you use a Pixel phone, it just feels faster. I've been quite impressed with battery life too. In my Pixel 2 XL testing, I was seeing 5 to 7 hours worth of screen on time and not a single day where I took the phone off the charger in the morning and needed to plug it in again before going to bed. And Tim saw similar performance on the Pixel 2 during his testing. While he didn't have quite as much screen on time, he also ran through an entire week plus without needing to charge very often. Whichever phone you choose, you'll be satisfied here. Finally, I like that Google is giving you choice once again in 2017. While these phones are manufactured by different companies and do look slightly different when examined, the choice of big or small and in some unique colorways is always welcome. I do wish Google would ditch the Verizon exclusive approach, but there are other ways to buy one, assuming they have the color you want in stock. Now, as much as I've thoroughly enjoyed both the Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL, as I mentioned earlier, we need to come back and talk about displays. And we're going to talk about displays on the Pixel 2 XL in particular, because over the couple of weeks I've been testing it, some potential issues have popped up. And if you're going to buy this phone, you need to be aware of this stuff. On the regular Pixel 2, you've got a Samsung-made AMOLED display. It's a solid display, if not a bit warm for my eyes. It is at 1080p, not Quad HD also. There really aren't many complaints to it though, outside of the heavy bezel above and below it. It's just one of those is what it is kind of things. On the flip side of that, we've got the Pixel 2 XL's POLED display, which is an LG-made panel. This is where some issues have popped up. For one, people have already complained about the blue tint you see when you kind of rotate it to the side and aren't staring directly at it. Others have commented on its muted or more natural color profile, which could just be an sRGB setup that Google needs to give us more control over. And finally, people are also noticing some screen image retention where the navigation bar, for example, continues to show even as it's hidden, almost as if there's a touch of burn-in. The jury is still out on what all of that means, but should we find out some official info from Google, we'll be sure to drop some updated links below. For now, we've got the most updated stories already linked there, so feel free to dive in to get the dirty details. This stuff is somewhat alarming though, especially when you consider the fact that this phone starts at $850 and tops out at almost $1,000. For me, I don't think this stuff with the 2XL will turn me off completely. It's unfortunate that this display may have some problems, and no one is going to sit here and argue this is the best display or even close to being as good as those that Samsung makes. After all, how many years is LG behind Samsung in OLED production? But I also stare directly at my phone, not from the side, so the blue shift doesn't bug me. The muted color stuff, well, that appears to be Google getting maybe a little bit ahead of itself without really letting the world know what's going on, and could allow color profile changes through software down the road. As for the screen retention, this likely never would have presented itself to me without someone telling me where to go look, what to look for, and how to see it. This isn't me discounting these possible issues, it's just that they don't affect me and what I need from a phone. Will they provide a poor viewing experience for you and what you need from a phone? That could certainly be the case. My suggestion, which I said weeks ago, is that you get a 2XL in hand, play with it, and decide for yourself rather than living within the internet's extreme freakout chamber. Outside of the display stuff, don't forget that, again, these phones don't have headphone jacks. They don't have wireless charging. They don't have microSD slots. I know that for many of you, those omissions are deal breakers. They may not be for me, but I fully understand if you think those items need to be on board. To wrap up, I'll put it this way. These are fantastic phones, and I think you'll enjoy just about every ounce of them. They really feel like Google's best phones from top to bottom. And I say that even over last year's phones because the software and hardware really feel like all Google. So you still get the fast software updates, faster than anyone else will get them. You get the best software experience in the industry, in my opinion. You also may get the best camera in the industry. You get stellar battery life, and even get some design choice of big and small, and then not just a whole bunch of fragile glass slapped together. Now, I also fully understand if you can't look past the Pixel 2 XL's display issues. We all have our different needs and wants and experiences. We do research and we analyze all of these things differently. And so if that is the reason you're passing on this phone, I totally get it. And I'm not even gonna try to stop you. But if you've already decided to jump in and you're gonna own one of Google's new phones, I don't think you'll be disappointed.